Welcome to PTG TV. This is your host, Antonio Hicks, aka Escaping the Matrix. In today's Tech Talk episode, I'll welcome back the homie K0nze for a Mac and Google edition episode. Welcome back, K0nze.
Hey, hello. Thanks for having me.
Ain't no problem, man. So before we get into the whole Mac and the Google discussions, what's going on with you? Let's push some of your stuff out.
It's a lot. I'm doing a lot of YouTube lately. So I decided, actually, I wanted to make 25 videos this year on YouTube. But that would mean every second week I push out a new video. Mm-hmm. But now I'm in the flow and I actually push out one video a week about streaming tech, which is very taxing, but it is fun and the growth pays actually off. And then there's a lot of TikTok, which I've picked up, I think, in April. Shortly after my birthday, I posted seriously on TikTok, and I'm seeing a good amount of growth over there. Yeah, and then and Twitch is also like the time when I hang out with my audience. Like growing happens outside of Twitch for me. I've never got any followers while live. I'm just growing outside of TikTok. But I'm having fun. I'm having a good amount of fun. I find new people with interesting stories and find new games I enjoy a lot to play.
So what got you into TikTok?
What got me into TikTok? There's a creator. His name is K0nze. He is a French YouTuber / Twitch streamer, and he posted a video about doing TikToks and how he started it as a way to bring people into his Twitch stream. And that made me thinking, okay, I had a TikTok account for long because I wanted to reserve my name so that nobody else can take my name. And then I think, let's check out what do people do on TikTok. Firstly, I didn't understand. Firstly, I thought it's like girls dancing to music.
The dance moves. Yeah.
But like after like 2 days scrolling through TikToks, TikTok recognizes what you like and what you enjoy. And I found a niche that is maybe a little bit overpopulated, but there's also a lot of BS going on, which is the streamer help streamer things, and I'm pushing out videos on that, probably broadening my audience a little bit more by showing people what I do on stream or my stuff I do in YouTube. But that is actually very lucrative. Like people enjoy seeing tips and not just people dancing. And yeah, this is why what I picked up from TikTok, and I'm doing 2 TikToks a day, which is yeah, and I'm getting better. Actually doing TikToks helps me to get better with YouTube because I learned to talk to the camera. I don't have to memorize every word I want to say. I actually stopped doing scripts from my YouTube videos because I got so comfortable with talking freely on the camera through TikTok. So it is not just that I like grow an audience on TikTok, it helps me with speaking freely on camera.
That's good. Yeah, I heard about, like, my kids told me about I should post some videos when I was streaming a lot. I need to get back in streaming a lot to put them on TikTok to kind of generate more of an audience on my Twitch streams. And I never thought about even doing it, or even how that would even help in doing it. So I know this is a sidebar from us talking about Mac and Google. So, but you would, like, before off camera, we was talking about, you said once you started doing it, you start seeing an uptick of a younger audience though.
Yeah,
coming into your stream.
Definitely. Like TikTok, like the main audience on TikTok is like the 13 to 20 year olds. And while as Instagram has like the 20 to 30 year olds, and then Facebook is like the 30 to 40 year olds. And and there's a lot of like young people coming into the stream and also into my Discord server. But it's fun. Some of them are like a bit weird. They don't like how to act with adults, but mostly people are very nice and they enjoy what I do, and they have a lot of questions. And I like when people have questions because that always gives me something to talk about.
Yeah, because you the super nerd. Even Jay was talking about you. So Jay Wills, I had him in one of my discussions or TikTok discussions, and he actually said he looked at our video. And he said when he looked at our video, Jade is technical, but he don't get like into too in-depth TikTok. And he was like, man, these dudes are out of my league. Like, what yeah, what more could I add to a conversation? I'm like, you added a lot to a conversation. So yeah, it's like, and I say that to say because K0nze is like a super nerd. Like I nerd out, but K0nze is a super nerd, which is a good thing. So for him, he posts a lot of videos on how to do things, how to set up your OBS streams, and how to get your stuff like looking good on Twitch and on YouTube. So no, that's a good thing. I mean, because you almost like I don't want to say you because you had a professor, but you do teach over in Germany too.
I teach at university, yes.
So that's a good thing for you then, because it gets you into your teaching phase.
It is. Like I don't teach like it's not my main part. I teach when my boss can't teach, but
Right.
I have to do a lot of student work. I'm mentoring a lot of students, and I think I could bring a lot of my skills I had from teaching at like a formal academia, bring over to YouTube, especially with the working from home, where we all have to like, I haven't been to the office in over 200 days, and we hadn't had a in-person lecture in over a year. And I think this actually pushed me into streaming and YouTube and stuff, because all the things like all the skills I had are now merging into one thing.
Right. Yeah, I say the same thing as well. I've been going to the office though, but yeah, I was thinking the same thing too, as far as like last year going in and out of the office and then working in the lab and stuff. And yeah, for you, that is a good thing. But now on to the big discussion, the M1 chips that we talked about last time. So now you haven't got you a Mac Mini yet, have you?
No, I'm waiting for the end of the year. At first, I have to save some money.
Yes.
And I'm still waiting for a little bit more beef, even though they have a good amount of like power and performance. But I'm still looking for something that will last me a little bit longer. Like the first phase of the M1s is a good start, but there is a lot of headroom. I actually have a floor plan here, which shows maybe how the chip sizes will increase and how much more cores we will get, like in terms of GPU in neural engines, and it looks very promising. So I'm definitely heading for getting myself a new Mac. Not sure which form factor actually by the end of the year.
Yeah, I was with you because we were talking about the new iMacs, and I'm like, at first I got excited about it when I first saw the rumors, but then when they came out, I'm like, it's not necessarily for me. It's almost for like those individuals that want like a starter PC, but they want a PC to fit in with their interior of their house, and they want something that'll last a long time. That's what I'm looking at the new M1 iMacs for, those type of people. And then for like the workhorses, you have the Mac Minis, and now they have the new Mac Pros potentially coming out. And now that the rumors now are the M1X Max, it has like the 10 cores inside of them. But yeah, those because I'm really looking at a new Mac Mini. Well, I want a Mac Mini because we're talking about editing and rendering times and whatnot, and we've seen all the videos and all the YouTubers and everybody's following back up like 6-month reviews of how it's performing, even with the low end model with the 8 gigs of RAM as opposed to 16, and how we're still just blowing through work. And I'm like, for me, even trying to edit videos now and now trying to incorporate like 60-second reels that everybody's pushing even on YouTube, it's taking my rendering time from like 35 to 40 minutes to now almost 2 hours. So I got to let stuff just like kind of run overnight sometimes just so we can get it done, and I'm not having to worry about doing workflow on top of getting videos rendered.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I'm editing everything off my MacBook Pro with an external GPU, and I can render in real time, but when my videos are only like max 20 minutes long, but still I have a lot of problems that like when my timeline is very full, I usually have like 2 video streams and 3 or 4 audio streams, which I combine into one, and then like I can't watch it in real time anymore, which is the biggest problem at the moment. And the new Macs, like they're fine, but for me they're more like a lifestyle product.
Right.
The new iMacs, and you see those in the videos like of Apple, like they have it placed like in the kitchen or in the living room of people, and they made it that they also look nice from the back. Like they have the color and even the Apple logo on the back, and they're meant to sit in like a center of the room and not like against a wall where you have like your desk where you mainly work from. So I think for a student who like is going back to school or something, I think it's a perfect machine if you have the money, because they're still pretty pricey.
Yes.
But they're not for professionals. Firstly, for having too less I/O, in my opinion, and also not enough GPU power. You need a lot of GPU power, especially when you like doing, because you're usually not just editing. When you are like doing like videos like Marquez does, you do motion graphics, you do editing, you do graphic design, you probably do 3D animation as well. And all those things, you sometimes you want to have all those applications open at once. And then 16 gigabytes won't cut it anymore.
No, but we're still waiting on like times for like people to have done like interviews with that, because a lot of, well, not interviews, but discussions and see how this actually working out. Because it used to be like we said that normally I never encourage anybody, if you got a brand new PC or a laptop or whatever, never get 8 gigs, because the OS alone is already killing your memory. So I always say get 16 gigs. But now, because everything is on the same board, everybody's like, well, 8 gigs is perfectly fine. So those times of us actually looking at, do we max out our RAM, is kind of questionable now. Because even the new ones coming out now, they're thinking about adding in more RAM space, but it's still a rumor.
They definitely have to. For the Pro line, they need more RAM, and they probably need also the ability to like extend the RAM, like with DIMMs. Like maybe you have like 8 gigs close to the chip, so you have like a more accessible and faster piece of access memory, and then like extend it with a secondary memory, as it is right now in every PC, where you have the RAM on the board. That is something I could imagine, because putting RAM onto the SoC itself is kind of pricey, and because you have to do all the engineering yourself. And when you just add like the slots, you can potentially buy from 80% of all the vendors and like just slot it in.
But but them doing that, they're trying to cut out other people and keep their stuff in-house. Same as Google, because now Google is doing the same thing too now. I know one thing that kind of got me salty about them putting the new M1 chips in everything is the iPad, and them still sticking with iPad OS and not allowing for full desktop applications to run on the iPad, even though now technically it should be powerful enough to run a full desktop application. Because once they made that announcement, I actually reached out to their PR department. I asked them a question. I said, hey, okay, with you all pushing the new chips out and you pushing it in the iPad, the A12 processors were perfectly fine. Because the one I have an A12 processor in my iPad Pro, and it's still good. I have no problems with it. I've never had any lag, no delays when trying to do. And the only thing you can't do is like, I haven't been able to edit a video, and I had to say I tried to. So with the new ones coming out, I reached out and said, hey, well, I got a kid going to school to do graphic design work, and and he works primarily off of Adobe. So I'm like, so would you all be able to now push the full Adobe desktop application onto the iPad? And it was like, no, we're still going to do an iPad OS. There's no plans in the future for that. And I was like, okay, well that's just overkill.
I think like we've seen in iPad OS, they started to add like a cursor and mouse integration, and I think they will do it gradually. We've seen that Microsoft tried to do it like in one step, like pushing Windows 8 to every device, and it went horribly bad. And like Apple tries to slowly merge those two like universals of the desktop/laptop OS and the tablet OS together, and we will see a gradual way they come closer to each other. But I'm not sure if they will ever be the same. It would be cool, I think, if you can say, okay, I want like more of a touchscreen OS, but I also want the full feature of a of a normal Mac OS. So I can't live with the command line on my Mac, and that is why I can't do work on my iPad, because my iPad doesn't like offer those things.
Right.
And I watch a lot of you probably know Henny the Business.
Yeah.
He does all his work on the iPad, which I find extremely
He does.
impressive. But I can't work like that. It doesn't work for me in my head. And because I have like files I have to move around, you can do files, but it still feels weird because you have never like windows on top of each other. And yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, for me, certain applications, because I was talking about this with LB, with LeBaron, and he was thinking that his thought process is, well, it's going to come up to the developers, like let's say Adobe, and Adobe is going to bypass them the same way Google bypassed, I think it was LG they was having a dispute with about them putting YouTube TV on there. So they cooked YouTube TV inside of YouTube, so they could bypass their system. So he was thinking that Adobe would probably make their stuff like just a software-based application to where it's on their servers, so they can have a full desktop application onto Adobe server. So when you open it up, you're not actually opening the application up on your actual physical machine, you're opening it up in their cloud services. And I'm like, okay, that would be cool, but you still have to have a high network speed, especially if you're talking about editing videos or doing any like advanced Photoshop work.
The thing is, you can provide an application and still work with local files. So there's actually an editor, a very basic video editor, which you can use through the browser. It works with your local files. You just have to give it the permissions for that, and then it runs on your computer. But like the code is getting delivered through the browser, and I could definitely see Adobe moving in that way. Like Adobe is making such a push for their cloud business and stuff, and their subscription businesses. This is why I don't like to work with Adobe products, because it's too expensive. Firstly, it's too expensive for me.
Yes, it is.
And
yes, it is.
Secondly, I don't feel like I own anything anymore then.
No, but a lot of people are going to cloud-based services now. Like because it's just that's their way of getting money. And like even Adobe, I think I pay, I don't know, $60 a month for Adobe for all of their services. But then yes, that's the one-time fee. But then if you want to get like their stock images, that's another $70 a month, if not $100-something a month. And then if you want to get, unlicensed music for some of your videos and stuff, that's more money. So Adobe, yeah, these cloud services, they're trying to make a killing off of the subscription stuff.
Yeah, definitely. They make bank with that.
Yes. So the new M2 chips, what do you think about that? If you've looked into those? Because I'm like, that's typical Apple. They just came out with the M1s, and now there's always a projection for the M1X, which is going from your 10 cores to 32 cores, and now the M2s.
I think WWDC is in 3 to 4 weeks. And then I think we will see, like, chip production takes forever. Like when you have a chip in mind, it takes like 4 to 3 years from the idea to like the physical product. And I think at WWDC, we will see a glimpse of the new Mac like Pro products, like iMac Pro, a new MacBook Pro, and a new Mac Pro. And they need to have like the bigger chips, otherwise they have to segment their market. Like it's a marketing tactic. You have to segment your products in order to appeal to different people, because someone who is like a professional whatever editor / video / motion graphics designer says, oh yeah, there's those fun looking iMacs, but they are not made for video production. They don't have like the Pro at the end, and this is often the mindset that people have in mind. Say, oh, it's not Pro, it's not for me.
Right.
So they have to push out a Pro product at least by the end of the year in order to like finish their transition, and also to appeal to the people who need a faster Mac before they switch over to a PC.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I could see we were talking about the M1, the Mac Minis, but yeah, if they do a MacBook Pro, yeah, I could see myself, because my MacBook Pro, even though I have a 16-inch 2018 MacBook Pro that's spec'd out, even still, like we were talking about earlier, it's when I'm trying to render videos on there, that thing, oh my God, it gets so hot. And it's like it slows down to doing literally nothing.
Yeah,
So I can
same.
see myself changing out my Pro for one of those
I
if
have
they push it up.
the 2017 MacBook Pro. And when I'm in a Teams call and we have like 15 people with 15 video streams, my MacBook Pro screams because it can't do the heavy lifting. It's not built for that because it doesn't have a dedicated GPU to encode that, and everything goes through the CPU. And sometimes I'm having problems browsing.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even recognize it, because who was it? I was talking about it too. Like, people don't really use their machines to the max of their abilities, and then when you're forced to, you actually see what type of equipment that you actually purchased. Which is why I was saying beforehand, I tell people to go ahead and get 16 gigs, because when you never know when you're gonna need it, and then when you need it, you realize, okay, I'm glad I did upgrade, because if I hadn't, it would be terrible. And like right now, I'm trying to understand, like, you and I just really got into like editing content and stuff like this last year. At least I have. I don't know about you beforehand. And even starting to get into being a content creator, I'm trying to understand, how are people even editing videos on their Macs, their MacBook Pros before last year, if it's just dragging from us, for like me making like a 30-minute video or even an hour-long video. Because I'm like, I know that would be because it's a headache for me now. So to imagine all the content creators that's out that existing right now, and all the stuff they're creating prior to last year, and the new M1 chips coming out, I know it was taking them forever just to render anything.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially like with a laptop, which is firmly like capped at a certain level. Like, when your laptop is not cooled and it's like this thin, how can they cool it? They will throttle the frequency of the CPU such that it doesn't burn. And that is one of the limiting factors of a laptop. I will keep my Intel laptop for a good while, because I can still use it for work. I don't do a lot of heavy lifting at work. But I need like something that is replacing the laptop for like editing and motion graphics, because it can't lift it anymore.
Yeah, it's a lot. And for me, that's why I just thought about that, because like now I'm starting to do production work outside of my own content. So I guess there's other thing too that's been keeping me busy. So now I'm being requested to like help friends and family out, to make commercials for them or ads for them or their own YouTube stuff. So now I'm getting into PTG TV is becoming like a production company on top of everything. So for me, I take all of my equipment out to people's houses. And even then, when I was doing it, like I was recording a friend's video for her YouTube page. And like, it was, my MacBook was dying, just trying to record her content, make sure stuff was set up and edited the right way while I was there with her. And like you said, it was screaming the whole time. So for me, I think that might be a good thing to purchase a new MacBook Pro if they come out this summer. But you know, I guess something I got to decide on, because I do want a desktop PC too.
Yeah, I think holiday season will be the time when we see new Apple products in the Pro lineup.
Yeah. So Google I/O, you said you didn't check any of that out. So anything with Google that's interesting that you want to see come out of their way before we start talking about the what they introduced last week?
No, not really. I just had a look at what Google I/O introduced. It was a lot of Android stuff, which I'm not really know a lot about it. I don't have an Android phone.
It's a shame, K0nze. You got to get you an Android as a secondary device to play with.
I have too many devices that keep me from being productive.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, I swear everybody knows I have my secondary phone now was a Samsung S21, and I talk about that a lot because I had a Pixel for my secondary device, but then the Pixel, it's okay, but I was starting to get lag in it, which I don't understand why mine would have. Normally, I don't have the issues that other people were having, but my Pixel 4 XL was starting to slow down a little bit and get clunky. So you click on the application, and that's because Pixels don't necessarily come with a lot of memory in them. I think the 4 XL had like 4 gigs of RAM in it, but I went to the S21, Samsung S21 Ultra, and I'm not a huge Samsung person. I never liked Samsung because of TouchWiz. I hated it. But now Samsung actually has a partnership with, if you ever seen my other videos, with Microsoft, to where now you can sync your phone up with your the Windows operating system to where you can text, talk, and open up applications within Windows. And I love that. So for me, that's a great thing. And then look at Google. So I have a lot of Google stuff around my house. So I have like the security cameras and systems and stuff around my house. So that's how I'm kind of mixed in. Like we have a hybrid in my house. So I have my Apple ecosystems, from the TVs, the watches, the laptops, all the computers and tablets and stuff. And then I have the Google stuff on top of it too. So I'm always interested to see what Google is coming up with. The one big thing, like K0nze and I was talking about prior to, was their Lambda project to work on their language modification. Make sure I get that right.
Yeah, they call it your new digital friend.
Yeah, and this, I love how they're trying to make it more conversational.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're a neural network architecture to make things more conversational. A lot of people will say they get scared from that because they had that with the Pixel line, to where you can have the Pixel, the software, it will actually call and make a reservation for you. And then it would, I don't know if you saw those.
I saw, those were creepy. Like when
Yes.
they called that restaurant to make a reservation, like the guy on the other side of the phone, he was kind of, he didn't know if he's talking to a real person or not.
Right.
It was very creepy. Did they ever actually launch that? So can I make a reservation?
It works. Yeah, it works.
Okay.
So now they have that, and that's the conversation you and I was talking about too. They so Google is now, I don't know, I'm trying to understand this relationship, partnered up with Samsung. So now with their new Wear OS, they're partnering up with Samsung's, I think it's Tizen that Samsung has. But now Samsung lines of phones are working with, more intertwined with Google stuff. So now you can do that whole not call screening. I do want call screening on my Samsung phone because I did love that, because you could actually do the automated recording of announcing this person is calling and they have a call screening person set up. But yeah, no, that is pretty cool, where you can make the reservation, because you can do it on the Samsung device, make the reservation and they have them call for you. And you can see the whole conversation going back and forth like in the on your screen. Now, what scares me about that is, what if it gets into the wrong hands?
Definitely, like the deep fakes.
Yes.
Deep fakes where you like overlay your face with someone else's face. They have become increasingly better. And I think it's actually easier to overlay a language model with another voice. Like I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, there was a language, like a neural network, which you could feed like voice snippets of Obama, and like after a certain amount of time, it talked like Obama. And like when you call your boss, or like you call someone your boss answers to, and you like feed that language model with voice snippets of your boss, and then your boss tells the person they answer to give you like a raise. That is something that will be interesting when we will see the first large-scale scams with those kind of like neural networks.
Right. And the big thing is like who is Marquise did an interview with Sundar of Google, but he didn't ask him that. He said he asked him about the fears of AI taking over, and then having some regulation stuff behind it. And he wasn't opposed to it. He was like, of course, as we starting to build this stuff, we have to put some tolerances and policies behind it. But I'm like, if those get into the wrong hands, to me, I see people doing more malicious things. And then, like you said, you have the deep fake things that come out too, with the images overlaid over top of somebody else. And then they post it on social media. Because, once you put stuff on social media, it compresses the image. So it's kind of hard to identify certain things, if they're real or if they're not real. And I'm like, so once you add the voice aspect to it, it's like, how do you know? How do you know if it's the real person? But, like I always say, Google is Skynet. And you have to, that's why you got to get into Android. So at least when the machines start taking over, they won't come and kill you because you Apple. So yeah, and then they have Project Starline. I think I was telling you about that too. So Project Starline is they take a 3D image of yourself and it maps it over and projects it to the other person's device. I want to say through Duo or whatever projection screen that you're using to create a 3D replication of the person in front of you. And they say they're doing it to kind of help out with all of us working remotely now and us feeling like we have to physically be in front of somebody to actually get a feel for that person in front of you as opposed to just looking through a camera. And I'm like, that's cool. And I mean, the images make it look really cool because they get the textures and stuff down packed to where even when they're talking, you can actually see their mouth moving in real time. Now, of course, you got to have a strong internet connection because with anything, if you don't have a high bandwidth coming through, it's going to be choppy. But I'm like, even that's scary.
And that combined like with the transformer model, with the lambda, that's like, if you combine those two and you have like a good amount of voice snippets and like also video samples or photo samples of a person, you can make like a very, very convincing like AI of yourself.
Right. And the
they
problem
do this
with
in Hollywood already, like when you
right.
When you look at at Star Wars, where they had like several deceased actors in the movie again, they look very, very, very convincing.
Right. Even with the concerts they're doing nowadays, where they did the 3D imaging of like Michael Jackson, they had some of Tupac and some deceased artists on stage, and it's hard to tell from a distance. I mean, clearly, if you're up there, you can know, but from a distance, it looked like it was an actual person performing on stage. And the thing about Google is Google has their learning network. So that's the biggest fear that people always have. Like as they're doing stuff and then you're pumping more language into it, it's actually learning to perfect itself.
Yeah, it's constantly those models, like the Lambda model. It's a transformer model, and it's probably based on GPT-3, which was a big neural network which could do those transformer things, like you having a conversation with someone and understanding context and not just like words. That's the biggest part,
right.
Like understanding what is actually said and not just interpreting words. That's the biggest part. And they have like, let's say they have unlimited resources when it comes to like computers, and they have unlimited data, which they collect from all of us.
Right.
And they feed that constantly into this model, and day by day it gets better. They have shown that with AlphaGo, the neural network that learned how to play Go against itself and was unbeatable in the end.
Yeah, and that's scary.
Yeah,
that's scary. Which is why, like I said, I like to be friends with the machines as opposed to the machines. I'd rather be Neo as opposed to trying to fight up against them, because all the stuff that they're doing, and they have all the robotics with some of the major robotics companies. So once they intertwine that into the robots, Google the Skynet.
Yeah. Imagine Boston Dynamics with this transformer model in it, and then.
Well, they own Boston Dynamics.
And not anymore. They sold it.
They sold it?
They sold it. Yeah. They held it for a little while, and then people got concerned, and then I think for a PR gig they sold it again.
Oh, I didn't read that. I was just talking about it the other day. I didn't realize they actually sold it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they were the first ones I thought about once they started releasing like the dogs to the police forces, and actually have walking around like New Jersey here. And people have been talking about that. So, because people see the robotic dogs walking around like the streets of Brooklyn and stuff, like patrolling the areas. So y'all will be next, K0nze. Y'all government releasing walking up and down the streets.
Germany has actually pretty strict rules on that, especially when it comes to privacy. The EU has very strict rules on that. So if you want to have like a camera that's like a CCTV camera, you need a license first, and you need to state why you need that. You can usually only film inside buildings you own, but I'm not allowed to install a camera outside of the house we're living in to film, because that would violate privacy laws. So
not even for security purposes?
No.
Wow.
So the Ring, like you know those Ring, the Ring doorbells. They're not allowed. You can technically buy them in Germany, and when you get a license, you can install them. But they're not allowed without having a license.
So what's the qualification to get a license? Like, what's the process in that?
I think you have to like state to the government why you need to observe a public place, and if the camera only looks at your property, it's not an issue. But when the camera like looks at public property, you have to state why you need to observe a public property, because the public property is secured by the state. You don't have to interfere with that.
So if you were in your area, you're in a house, they probably would approve that. But like if you're in like a city area, they'll probably say, no, why would you need it? Because like you said, we're already securing the area.
Yep.
So what is the crime like in Germany?
I don't think we have a lot of crime. We definitely don't have gun crimes, as we don't.
Yes, yeah, you're not like the US.
We can't own guns. But I'm not very aware. I feel very safe outside. I've never had any issue. I always had good relationship with the police. And yeah, I don't see a need for me personally having that. And I've never came into a situation where I had to depend on a CCTV camera. And also CCTV cameras don't prevent crimes. They just help to figure out who did it.
Right.
And that's why I'm actually opposed to CCTV cameras. I would rather see more like, not like police officers, but like officers who are not complete police officers, who don't carry guns, but just patrolling and looking if everything is fine around, and they can like respond fast to when something happens, other than like mass surveillance, which doesn't prevent the crime. It just helps you to figure out who it did, because when someone rapes someone else, the rape will still happen, and the person will be damaged for their life, and that person that was the rapist will go to jail. However, that won't reverse it, and that's the biggest problem I have with CCTV cameras.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it helps in solving a crime and find out who actually did it, as opposed to the person just getting away. Because even here, I mean, my stuff is not real time. I would love it for it to be real time, but even when somebody leaves a package at my door, they like UPS, they're already back on the truck before I get a notification that UPS is at the door, unless they ring the doorbell. If they ring the doorbell, then I get a real-time notification. But they're almost back to the truck before I get a notification that the camera has even spotted somebody walking through my yard. So you're right in that. But yeah, the other thing, what is it, Material You? We're talking about that with Google pushing out, and I don't understand the hype behind that. It's like you're trying to create a whole theme system, same as Apple. And I'm like, Apple, I'll even leave them out of that whole subject, because Apple stuff has just been Apple stuff. And now you can create the new links to where you can customize your phone to look a certain way, but it's still going through like a separate application, as opposed to just being able to modify it how you want. But even Google's Material You is to make things more customizable, to where they would have to use a third-party application like a Nova launcher to make things look how they wanted to look on their Android devices. But I'm like, it's already out there. So I'm like, this, to me, they could have left it out of their whole presentation.
I actually supervised a student project who has worked on a web application, and he used the Material UI of Google, and that actually helped us to make the application a little bit more high quality, because there's a lot of presets already in there. Like, you get all the shortcuts delivered, you get all the buttons, and that was actually very helpful. And like nothing is worse than having, that is actually when I actually owned an Android device. I owned the first Nexus device. It was when I took a short break from Apple, I had an Android phone, and the thing I hated the most back then is that every application had a different design language. And I know Apple you can get apps on the iPhone, and they all have a different design language, but Apple has very strict guidelines for how something has to look in order
Right.
to get approved for the App Store. Of course, there's exceptions for like games who have their completely own UI, but like for an email client or a web browser, they all need to have like the things in the same position, like the back button and that you swipe to the right and all those things. And Google tries to do that as well. They want to deliver a already pre-made UI that you as a developer can use and then deliver an application that feels native to the device.
Right. Well, that's what part of the stock Android look. But even to me, with Google doing that, they're moving away from. I mean, well, I guess I can't say they're moving away from stock Android because Google made Android, so anything Google makes is still technically stock Android.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I say. One of those things, I guess I do like that about it is actually cooked into the operating system as opposed to doing it from a third-party launcher, so to make it a lot more smoother. But like I said, to me, it wasn't really to hype about. I mean, if they had presented it your way, it might have sounded a little bit better. I'm like, you got other launchers out there that can do the same thing. I'm glad you're doing it and it's mixed into the system, but it's okay. Now, the detailed street maps they're doing within Google Maps, I do like that. Now, I don't know if you saw. So with that, they've actually added in like the sidewalks and areas, the street lights. One thing I did like when they pushed out was when a business, and Apple tried doing it in Apple Maps. Well, I think, no, they still do it to a degree. If you can, but yeah, they just partner with somebody else. You can actually see how busy that business is before you go there.
Oh, this is a feature I use a lot, especially in COVID times. I try to pick a time to go to the grocery store when there is not a lot of people around. Well, firstly, when we are in lockdown, we have to wait outside because there's only a limited amount of people that can go into the store. And secondly, I like to have the store to myself a little bit and don't like cuddling with people in there. And that is a feature I like a lot.
Yeah, same here. So for me to see all the new upgrades coming into Google Maps, like I said, with the street walks, the street lights, and you can see a lot of what's going on. I actually love that because I use Google Maps more so than I use Apple Maps. I've been trying to push myself more over towards Apple Maps to see how it goes, because it used to be where you put in an address, Apple wouldn't necessarily send you to that address, to send you someplace on the other side of town, at least in my case, on the other side of town. But now they've supposedly fixed that, and I haven't had any issues since I've been using it. But it's a habit for me. I mean, I use Google Maps. Somebody was trying to get me on, what is it, Wiz? I think that's what the other one is called.
But that's a Google-owned company.
Right. And it was like with that, you get more updates as far as police presence and stuff. But now I saw Google did take data from that and actually push it into Google Maps itself. Because I'm like, why would you have a separate map application? Why wouldn't you just put both of them together?
Also illegal in Germany.
That's illegal?
Yeah.
Why is it illegal?
Because the police, like, people use it to track down where you can go. Like, there is no speed limits on German motorways or highways.
I didn't know that.
There's no speed limit. And people use that to figure out if police is present, so they can have illegal racings on those highways.
So you can go as fast as you want to go.
You can drive 1,000 miles per hour if you can and want to on the German highway.
You just can't street race on the German highway.
It's illegal. It's illegal. Like racing is a big thing actually. I've been challenged, like when I still had a car and was driving in the night, and people challenged me, even though I had a really crappy car back then. People challenged me to drive, and they would actually, like, they come from the left and the right. I was in the middle of the lane, and they didn't let me like leave when I slowed down. They slowed down as well, and they challenged me. And
did you take the challenge?
No. I showed them my phone that I'm calling the police, and then they left.
Really?
Yes.
K0nze, you out here snitching on people? Yeah, I can't. I used to street race, so I can't say anything. That's what I was asking. I did use the street race. I
It
loved
was
it.
scary as fuck. Like those
It is
two,
scary.
like they had like I had a Chevrolet, like maybe 90 horsepowers, and they had like a GTI and an Audi A3.
Ooh.
I didn't even know why they challenged me. They were probably bored.
Fun, man. For fun. Yeah, I used to. Yeah. Whew, those were the days. I actually street raced a cop one time. He actually did it to me, and I didn't know if he was playing or not. Yeah, seriously, I was out on a date, and I had just dropped my date off, and I was pulling up. I pulled up to the stop sign, and this is when I had my street race in my car too. So I had a Chevy Cavalier that I had souped up, had a high performance engine and everything inside of it, had low profiles and everything. So the cop pulled up next to me, and he started revving his engine. I looked over. I'm like, well, we both had to stop. Like, so I haven't done anything wrong. So I don't know what this is about. So we both pull off, and he kind of looked over and start revving his engine. So I was like, this dude really want to race. So I was young. I didn't care. So I was like, oh, okay. So we went speeding down a highway. Now, half a mile into it, you know, the lights went off in my head. If you win this, what are the consequences behind if you win this? Or if you continue on with this, what are the consequences? So I pulled back. I just let him go and looked over and I let him go. And I'm glad I did, because I don't, like I said, I don't know what would have happened. I might have got arrested that day if I had beat the cop. Because I probably could have beat him. This is before they got the high performance cars now. Because over here in the US, I don't know if over about in Germany, they got high performance cars. Like I've seen cops around here with like Corvettes.
We have like as we have like a couple of car manufacturers in Germany. The police has high performance cars. They are not painted in police car colors. They are just like, they can put like a magnetically attached blue light on top, and then there's a police car. But we have those police cars as well, like Porsches and Mercedes.
A Porsche?
Yeah, of course.
Our police car?
Porsche. Our police cars are like Porsche.
Yeah, that would be, well, no, yeah, I can see them doing it over here, but they're already crying about the police budget. And I was like, how do the police afford a Porsche over here?
They do it like as a donation / tax thing, because the police will probably buy 100 cars at once, and then they say, okay, we give you a good price for that. And the most famous or popular car they buy is the SUV from Porsche. And that's the car. Actually, a lot of ambulances have this as well.
Oh, okay, wow.
And also the firefighter commander in our city has it.
Man, I need to come to Germany.
Because there's a lot of, you can put a lot of stuff into that car.
Yeah, but still, I mean, for us, that's a lot of money. So I got one question for you, because I think we talked about it last time. Google making their own chips.
Google are making their own chips, yes.
So how does that fare well for everybody, the other chip manufacturers?
Good.
For the other ones?
Because we need more competition. Like we have like you have to dissect between like people that are designing chips and people that are manufacturing chips. Okay. And we have Intel, who is, I think, one of the last companies together with Samsung who is designing the chips and also manufacturing them. And AMD has sold global foundries off. NVIDIA is always using Samsung or TSMC. Apple is using exclusively TSMC and all of that. But in the like chip world, we need more competition, because competition drives innovation and lowers prices. Okay. That is good that we have like more competitors in that world. And because chip innovation, like not on the physical level, it was always like top notch. But like when you look at CPUs, desktop CPUs, innovation is not coming anymore. No. And we need more innovation in that space. And and Apple figured that out really early and said, oh, IBM, the chips aren't cutting it anymore. Let's switch to Intel. And then they said, oh, Intel doesn't cut it anymore, and we have the in-house capacity to actually design our own chips. So let's do that, and let's be the innovator ourselves. and Google saw that as well and said, okay, let's do it.
It's amazing to me why they would have, especially Google, they never would have done theirs early on. Like, I'm like, why did it take Apple to lead the way with their A1 processors to now Google's like, hey, we should do the same thing too and start manufacturing our own thing, even though they had the tech and the people the engineers to do it.
They had several, there's the Google TPU, which is the tensor processing unit, which is their deep learning processor. They started with that because Google is still heavily invested into AI and machine learning.
Right.
And they have a lot of engineers for that. And they used that knowledge also to make their own chip, which is for their problems they have. Like NVIDIA bought ARM. And that is a very, very dangerous situation, because ARM is like 80% of all our processors are ARM processors these days. In your phone, like the modem for the LTE, the Wi-Fi modem, the voice processor, those are all ARM chips. It's not just like the main CPU that is an ARM chip, and all that like IP, intellectual property, is now heading over to NVIDIA, and nobody wants that. Like NVIDIA had its GTC a couple of weeks ago where they showed their new roadmap of chips, and they're going full on into like deep learning, autonomous driving, edge computing. Like they're firing on all levels now, and we need more competition in that market, because we cannot give one company all the stakes in that market. And NVIDIA is trying hard to do that. And this is why I applaud Google to do that. And also I applaud Apple for doing it. And I hope there's more companies doing that. I'm actually working in a research project where we design our own chip in Germany.
Oh,
because
wow.
We don't want to be dependent on foreign intellectual property.
Right. So how far along are you all?
It's a research project. That means that it is 5 years, and there has been some advances. Like in the group I work, in the research group I work, we made our own chip with a machine learning accelerator on it and a little microprocessor based on the RISC-V architecture. And at the end of the project, all the intellectual property that has been generated will be transferred into companies, which then will make a product out of that. So we won't develop a product, but we will do the research that will then be transferred into like companies who make products with it.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I like it. I just think that a huge part of those manufacturers, they're selling their chips to Google and Apple, and not at both of the heavy hitters are like, we're making our own stuff in-house. Yeah, I can see the price has to go down, because now they have to try to compete, and they got to sell more product, because one of the people, the biggest margin they had, has now pulled away from them.
Yeah.
All right, man. So as we wind down, anything you excited about to come out this year? I'm gonna ask this question to everybody I have on for TikTok to come out this year.
I'm excited for WWDC, which is coming up in. We should definitely do an episode after WWDC, which is coming up in June. I'm really excited for that, to see that what Apple has in store for us.
Yeah, we can do that one. Not live. I've already got hit. No. Yeah, I got hit one time doing it live. We'll do it afterwards and stream it live and talk about that. Yeah, I'm not doing nothing live anymore with Apple or Google stuff. I got pegged one time for that. Now, for people that want to watch you, K0nze is a great guy. I love K0nze to death. K0nze and I met in the whole gaming community, which is why I was glad and thrilled that we both could do the Tech Talk thing together. Where can they reach you at?
I'm almost everywhere. Like my main platform is Twitch, twitch.tv/K0nze, and the O is a 0. Then on YouTube, it's the same, youtube.com/K0nze. Also on TikTok, where I make great moves at the moment. You can find me there as well. And in my Discord service, if you have any questions for that. And you find all my links probably on my Twitch site, or if you include it in the description. Yep,
I will. But you got a website too, right?
Yeah, I will when I get some time, I'm going to make a new website soon. I'm
because I know you already had one.
Yeah, but it is not what I want to have it.
Oh.
So I'm having big plans for that website to provide value instead of just what it is.
Yeah, I had to update mine, but it's still not. It's better than what it was because I put more of my content out there, because at first everything was segmented, but now I've kind of put it together outside of my political stuff. Y'all will see that later on this year when I get back into the other stuff that I'm doing. But yeah, everything else I kind of mixed together. So K0nze, you know the process. You can leave a positive thought, especially to these 13-year-olds. I was watching the adult K0nze, a positive thought to the people.
My positive thought would be, you're always, the things you do, you have in control. And the less control you have, the more miserable you will be. So learn a skill today. Like every day, try to improve a skill you already have, or try to learn a new skill, so you can be less dependent on others giving you money. Like, because someone says, oh, you have to do this and that, and you say, I do that because I need the money. But when you know a skill, people will fight over you because they know you are that guy or that girl. They know something we need. And if you have that skill, this unique selling point, you will make it far. And maybe you don't even need an employer, but you can become self-employed, become a content creator, become self-sufficient, and yeah, learn a skill and try to do something with your life other than just sitting in front of your computer gaming and eating Cheetos. Yeah, try to learn something and make a change.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that. I agree with K0nze on that. Yeah, it's find something that you love. Everybody's passionate about something. When people always tell me, "Oh, I don't know what I should make content on or do whatever," I'm like, you have something you love. Even if it's gaming, you can become a content creator doing that. And what you'll find is, even when you're gaming and trying to stream, you're learning something new, which is why I like the fact that he makes videos showing you how to perfect that particular craft. So as you do that, like he says, even if you're a content creator, I encourage everybody to become content creators, because that skill itself can incorporate into a political life. You want to have a political life, or even a corporate life. You can make training videos. You can do things and make training aids for people, or it helps in your marketing and advertising. So redefine yourself, perfect what you have, find the greatest part of you, and focus on that, and continue to strive to do better in those locations, so you can stop being dependent upon the system, and the system can now become dependent upon you. So I am Antonio Hicks, aka Escaping the Matrix. You can find me on ptgtv.online. All of my links are there. My YouTube link is there. My Insta, all my social media links are there, and my Twitch stream is there. I have started streaming again. I may stream today. So yeah, check us out there. If you're listening in on Apple Podcasts, make sure to hit that like button. And I'm going to tell you to hit that like button and leave a comment, because I do love some feedback. Thank you guys for always tuning in. Thank you, K0nze, for coming back, doing another tech talk. And yes, we're going to have another one for WWDC come June next month. If not, have another one before then. And stay tuned for my next episode with Jay Wills coming up later on. Love you guys, and thank you all for tuning in again. Happy podcasting.